In over 58 years of existence, the University of Zambia has only had 2 female vice presidents in its union leadership. The name is Winston Mavor, and welcome to the People's Space podcast. And today I am privileged to be hosting Jemimah Mwaba, who is better known as the female commander. I mean, that just adds some extra layer of security to this whole production today. But hey, she is the second vice president of UNZASU in the history of the university, which is the highest learning institution in the country. And of course, today we will be discussing a whole lot ranging from leadership and, most importantly, what does this mean going forward for UNZASU? What does this mean for the marginalized segment of the university population? And of course, delving into other important developmental issues. Jemimah, welcome to People's Space podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You know what's funny about this whole thing? When I heard about the female commander, people would always envision this person who just looks the part.
Yeah, that's true.
And what I mean is somebody who...
Huge?
Not really, because you see, leadership and authority has nothing to do with stature.
Yeah, that's true.
But sometimes there's this preconceived notion that we have, just an aggressive, serious person.
Yeah.
But here you are with a very
smiley.
Exactly. With a very stunning smile, and you're the female commander, eh?
Yeah.
Interesting. But anyway, congratulations for, being elected the vice president of UNZASU. When I heard that it's a lady, I was impressed. I said, well, nice. And to have the opportunity, to be able to talk to you here, I think it's just amazing. So as we get to, into our conversation, first things first, people would like to know, beyond the female commander, who is Jemimah Mwaba?
Okay, so Jemimah Mwaba is a 21-year-old, third-year actuarial science student at the University of Zambia. And on top of that, I think just my personal life, I'll start with something fun.
Okay.
Yeah, my hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
I like to dance. I'm a dancer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
I'm a
nice.
dancer. I sing as well. Yeah,
okay.
and
Where
aside
do
from
you
that, sing.
Where do you sing?
I sing on my own, but at my church, I'm also in the praise team. Yeah. Then on top of that, I am currently, as you mentioned, the UNZASU vice president-elect. And then also I am a trained and certified leader, been trained by 3 organizations, Be Relevant Africa, KECTIL Global, the Zambian chapter, as well as the WAVE program, which is under the US Embassy and Diamond Incubator.
Okay.
Then also I'm a person who's into advocacy for climate change, mental health, as well as financial education, because my course, Actuarial Science, also deals with things about financial literacy, investments. So I'm also leaning towards that. So I think for this audience, that's who I am.
Okay. For this audience, meaning there are other versions to the female commander.
Very multifaceted.
Interesting, and how dynamic. Let's talk about you've been trained by various organizations, rightly so, and it's a good thing, to build leadership capacity, obviously, which has contributed to be where you are today.
Yeah.
What really inspired you to go for the position of vice president in a male-dominated arena and environment such as UNZA, where it's not easy? The monks don't really trust anybody, including their own. You have to be special. That's one thing about UNZA.
Yeah.
You have to be special in a way for them to give you the opportunity to be the leader. So what really inspired you to be able to go for the position of vice president?
Okay, so the position of vice president at my school in UNZASU had been dormant for a very long time. It's actually been very dormant. I doubt you've ever had any vice president before. It's very rare, right? So even in the school, it's a case where someone is voted into power for the position of vice president and they're quiet, they don't do anything. So that was the first thing, I want to raise the standard of this position, that if anyone who comes after me should be able to meet that standard and work and execute something for the students. Secondly, I noticed that women in leadership and politics at my school, the percentage of them participating was very low. To a point where last year in UNZASU, there was only 1 female. And she was at the position of what we call a trustee. A trustee is like a committee member. Yeah. And so imagine the whole like union from now down to the top, it's just men. And I thought there should be a balance in this because even just in natural things, when a man and a woman come together, something nice happens, right? So, in the same way, in leadership, when we involve women also in these high positions, it's easier for us to plan from both sides of the coin and bring both sides of the coin to one thing. So, yeah.
Okay. You mentioned something very important. Your predecessors, they were there, but they did not really do much, with the opportunity that they had. What exactly do you intend to do different to be able to change that narrative?
Okay. So for me, firstly, I'll start by saying that one thing I like to do each and every place that I go to is leave impact. Whether in high school or where I am right now, before I leave UNZA, I must leave impact there. Yeah. So in the same way, one thing that I plan to do differently is being able to be seen representing the students very well. Because there are things like where students need someone to talk for them, I'm there to be able to represent them and just represent them well. Just to give a little bit of a background, I think 2 months before my campaigns, I carried out a survey for students about their challenges, what they were facing as students. And with that, I was able to see which things were not okay, right? And one of the things they complained about recently, our calendar, academic calendar was like, how can I say this? Was put from 6 months per semester to about 3 months. So it was reduced. The time was reduced. So they were complaining that there's not enough time for them to study, for them to do all of these things, and there's too much stress. So what did I do? I went ahead and started to interview lecturers as well so that I get their point of view. And from there, I took it a further step and went to the management so that we could talk and find a solution for the students as well. So that's what I'm talking about, representing them well. They feel seen, they feel heard as well. So yeah, that's my thing.
Okay, interesting. And I like the fact that you like to represent and make people feel seen. But I still have a question in my head. How did you convince the monks?
By smiling to them.
But anyway, I wouldn't blame them. With that smile, obviously, you can convince literally everybody. But I mean, how was it?
So actually, I faced a challenge one time. I was going through my campaigns, and then a lady, my fellow, we call ourselves momas. Yeah, came to me and she told me that one of my opponents, because I was with 5 men on the same position, I was the only lady. Yeah. So she came to me saying one of my opponents went to her as he was campaigning saying, I can't be vice president because I'm a lady and they need a masculine voice, like someone who's, a man to be able to represent them well. But one thing I told them is that even when I was going to campaign, I wasn't using the thing as I'm the only lady on the position because I would have used that to win. But what I was going to them is proving my competence. As I told you in my introduction that I'm a trained and certified leader, I would usually quote the verse Hosea 4 verse 6 saying, my people perish due to lack of knowledge. And that has been the trend for so many leaders. We perish with them due to their lack of knowledge on how to lead. So when I say that, I would say, I'm a trained and certified leader. I don't come to you because I'm a lady, so vote for me because I'm a lady and the only woman, but because I'm trained, certified, and qualified to be able to lead you and lead you with a vision and direction. So yeah, I could say that was some of the things I would talk to them about. And one other thing is, I'm a very confident person. Not that I'm trying to make myself feel good, but I'm a very confident person. So when I was also going to the same place, when questions come to me, people could see that this girl believes in herself. And sometimes it takes you to believe in yourself for others to believe in you. Yeah, so that was...
Okay, interesting. Talking about believing oneself and trend setting. When you won the election, I had noticed something. There was an interesting match that happened.
Yeah.
People left the university all of a sudden and they were rushing to a very unusual place. Okay?
Yeah.
State House. There, the gates were open for you. People would love to know. Did you have an appointment? Was it prearranged?
No, it wasn't.
So they just opened the door for you?
So what happened?
For you guys?
We tried twice. But on the third one, that was when it was successful. So the first time was the day we won. We wanted to go and greet our friend, Bali. We call him our friend at the University of Zambia. So when we won, we started off the president, everyone else who won with the students. I'm sure you saw some article on, or just a certain post that was trending on Facebook, saying the students had a thing with the police and everything. There was some stones. Of course, that was just propaganda and everything like that because we didn't throw any stones.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we started off, we started walking, and now we didn't know at that point in time that the president wasn't in Lusaka. So that's when the police now came to stop us. That was on Saturday. They stopped us and said, no, we can't go there and everything. You know how students were sad. We had to go back. Sunday, we planned on starting off right in the morning. Just there in the morning, they told us, no, we can't go again after we reached the gate. Then now we said, you know what, we'll go on a day that's so unexpected, which is Tuesday. Then we started off, and surprisingly, he was around and we were welcomed very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was the meeting? What did you discuss?
We didn't meet him privately. No, we just were there. We gave our speeches as I think the presidents from Ridgeway as well, Great Eastwood as well, and myself are the ones who gave speeches. And so we were just thanking him for the things that he's done.
Who met you there?
Where?
At the State House.
The honorable ministers and the president, he was also around there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So when
did
we
he
reached
say
there,
something though?
he did.
What did he say?
He was just telling us about how, because we went to voice out our needs. One thing I was about to say is that before we ask, that's one principle for me. Before I ask from someone, at least I must be able to thank them for the things they've done already. Because imagine you give me something today, I don't say thank you, and I come back tomorrow and ask again, and I don't say thank you. Will you give me the next time? No. So that was why we matched to show our gratitude, that we are thankful. And then the new union now was there to now give their, I say, needs. And so he was responding to the needs we were giving.
Some people felt like you guys going there and some of the speeches that you gave gave an indication of your declaration of alignment.
Yeah.
Okay, to the current government. Is that position correct?
I don't think it is. No, it's not correct. As I said, gratitude is a must. And so we went there to appreciate and then voice our needs.
Okay.
Yeah. Because before you actually ask for something, you must be grateful for what you have.
So how was the composition of the people that went there? Did you carry everybody else? Or did you factor in those that are not aligned with the current government, how they would feel about that?
It was free. I think if you were to ask any student, we just said, we are going to march to State House tomorrow. Everyone show up, and everyone just showed up. And we started walking.
Okay.
Yeah.
The needs of the university obviously don't change. Okay. If I asked the previous, your predecessor and the person or lady before, obviously the challenges are still work in progress, and it's the same thing. How different do you think the president or the government this time around will offer solutions to what you're going through?
So firstly, we are very thankful to them. As I told you, we are big on gratitude. And
even if people are not doing what they're supposed to do, you're just grateful.
No. We first started with gratitude. And so we know that because we are grateful, they will certainly deliver.
Has the issue of hostels been addressed adequately? Adequately?
No, it's still in progress. Right now, if you go there, you'll find they're working on the hostels.
Okay.
Yeah, right now.
Has the issue of sanitation been addressed?
It's something that is underway.
Okay.
Yeah,
so what are you thanking them for?
We're thanking them for the meal allowances. I think if you were to watch the video, while we were talking, some student literally screamed Zangena. For that, that means, how can I translate it? Zangena.
Like the money hit their accounts.
Yeah, you've been credited. So during that time, some students were actually already receiving their meal allowances, which were long overdue. Yeah, so we were thanking them, things like meal allowances. Another thing that was initiated by the government is registration fees were cut off for students who are on bursary. So before that, they had to be paying registration fees on their own. But then there's some people who are underprivileged and are unable to manage. So such a thing was cut off for them. And so we were happy because it now brings a thing where everyone can be able to get a free education. So
can you confidently look in the camera and be able to assure everybody else that with that smile of yours, that you're not politically aligned, but your interests are the interests of the students?
Yes, I am here to represent students and no one else. I'm here to represent students.
Okay. Let's now talk about one of the things that you mentioned. Interestingly, was the issue of the other stuff that you do. Beside leadership, obviously, which is your passion.
Yeah.
You're into climate advocacy.
Mental health.
Yes, mental health and
Financial education.
Financial literacy. How important? You've talked about the issue of meal allowances, being paid on time and all that, the waiver on registration fees. How important is financial literacy to the student populace? And I ask this because we're living in a time that is very sensitive. A lot of people struggling with debt. A lot of people end up committing suicide because of debt. We've seen unfortunate events such as that within our communities, be it in school, outside school. How important is your inclination to things like financial literacy in the context I've just mentioned?
Honestly, I feel like financial education and literacy is very important to students, especially starting from when you are a student, because during that time, of course, as you're saying, we're receiving meal allowances and everything. It's when we are in school. That's when we actually learn to budget and deal with our money very well. If you have a bad relationship with money, I mean, even when you are in society, these are cases where you find people go bankrupt, debt. And that's one of the very biggest things, even at the university, debt. Students being caught in debt. I remember, was it last year? A student committed suicide because they had so many backlogs of loans and everything, and they couldn't pay back. So imagine where financial education is prioritized for students, it's easier for them to be able to deal with all of these things. And even as they're getting into society, if I can put it, they'll be able to deal with their finances very well and have a better relationship with money.
Interesting. As a climate change advocate, there are some trees that are currently being cut. I think at the School of Education there, if I'm not
ruins,
mistaken, there at the ruins, there's some trees that I saw leveled.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I mean, I'm not a climate change expert, but I was like, what the heck? Why?
Okay, so management says the roots of the trees are starting to spoil the roads. Like they had overgrown, right? But then that's still an investigation that, of course, we're still asking them why exactly that's happening. But then their reason is they want to maintain the road. So yeah, but there are other trees still. We still have more trees at Unza. I mean, if you go to Graduation Square, you find so many trees. There's fresh air and we can relax there.
You know why I'm going to be the devil's advocate on that one? You said you're still engaging management to find out whether it is true that those routes will ultimately be a problem or a menace. Okay, we did see some,
the cracks and
exactly,
everything.
the cracks and everything on the roads and everything. But those cracks have been there for a long time, and it's not like, but if you
they're
say,
getting worse actually.
But do we have, for example, because you see, to cut down a tree, obviously they say you must be able to
Plant
replace
another
one.
Yeah.
That's the best way of maintaining the ecological system and balance of the University of Zambia. So in the absence of that, how would you say that it's okay for them to cut trees? Don't you think there should be a deliberate measure to be able to plant other trees elsewhere?
Yeah, definitely. So as you've said it, me and my union executive will carry out that task, and we'll be able to get back to you. You'll be able to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me bring you back to the issue of leadership before we obviously take a break. One of the things that you mentioned, which was very important, was that you did not approach the campaign as a woman, okay, which is a card that I've seen people use. And I'm not really faulting anybody for the strategy they choose to approach a campaign with. Yours was not to go in there and say, look, I'm a girl, vote for me because I'm a girl, I'm weak, I'm this, I'm that, give me a chance. You went in there solely as a candidate who presented her competencies, stood on that ground, and competed with everybody else and chose not to be looked at like a girl, but as a candidate that has the abilities to beat everybody else. I want us to address this issue because sometimes I feel like I hear so many times, when people are talking about the issue of gender balance, gender this, gender that, there's always saying, no, women this, women that, women. Why did you approach it differently? Why did you go for meritocracy as opposed to the gender card?
So, firstly, I wanted people to trust me as a leader, not as a woman on that position.
And why is that important?
It's important because as we are going into these leadership positions, leadership is not about gender. It's about that heart of service. This is why one of my biggest things, even as a leader, is I lead with servant leadership. Servant leadership leads from bottom to top and not top to bottom, right? So even in the training, this is why I feel like as a leader, training is also important. Because if I hadn't undergone those trainings, trust me, my campaign strategy would have been, I'm a lady, women empowerment, feminism, right? But then I didn't choose that route. I wanted to make sure people know that when they vote for me, I'm very capable and competent for that position, not because of my gender, but because I want to serve.
Interesting. I like the fact that you mentioned the issue of feminism. Okay, that's another interesting topic, obviously for another day. But just on that, I feel like a whole lot of times we ignore the issue of. I know we may be in a system. Okay, I acknowledge the fact that we are in a system that has been structured in such a way that women may not necessarily have equal opportunities as the men would have had. Okay? That I'm very much cognizant and I accept that fact. Okay? But the issue that sometimes, bothers me is the fact that you have a whole lot of women that disregard issues like meritocracy, that would have a bias that ignores the very things that you mentioned, going there as a leader, not as a woman, not as a man, but I'm a leader, but they just go there and say, no, feminism, we have to be there. It's our right.
Yeah.
So sometimes it really just, makes me sit back and say, are we really fighting the correct fight as an advocacy, What are your thoughts on these things that we see on social media of women against men?
I think it's something that is a mindset thing, right? And this is why one of my strategies also when I get into power is making sure also people who want to be leaders as students get proper guidance, mentorship, and just say leadership clinics, something like where we invite people who are in these positions to be able to teach us and open our minds up to this. I feel like why a lot of people choose the route of women empowerment, feminism, and all of that stuff, as you put it, right, is because they don't know the potential they carry as well. I'm not disregarding that. It's important to support women because overall, we are like looked down upon. Like I told you, the thing where I faced a man was decampaigning me in the thing of I can't represent women or the students because I'm a woman and I'm not as masculine as he was. You get it? Or he is. But
and
then
you proved him wrong.
I proved him wrong.
Here you are.
Yeah. So I think it's just about discovering the potential you have aside from your gender. Because I feel like as men, they would have also gone, I'm a man, so vote for me. But that's not a genuine reason to vote for you, right? So when we are able to discover the potential we carry, it won't be about who is what, but who are you? You get it, right? So even during my campaigns, I never at all decampaigned anyone saying this person is this. Whether I saw their weaknesses or not, I was riding on my own strengths and my own weaknesses and who I am and who I believe I am.
That's interesting. You are watching the People Space podcast with me, Wenson Mavor, and my guest today is the female commander all the way from the University of Zambia. She is the vice president, the second in history of the University of Zambia to hold that position. And of course, we are discussing her journey into leadership, what it is that she wants to do or intends to do for the university itself, and just her thoughts generally on leadership and various other developmental issues affecting not only students, women, and just generally everybody out there that aspires for leadership. For now, we will take a break and we'll be back shortly for some more.
This is Engineer Christopher Kangombe. Join me on the People's Space podcast as we discuss the Constituency Development Fund, what is working, what is not working, and how best we can improve this fund to be able to impact more on our people in our various communities. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to People's Space Podcast with me, Wenson Mavor. Today we are talking to the female commander from Onzasu. She is the vice president, the second in the history of the university, the second female vice president in the history of the university. I think I'll keep mentioning that so that it sinks in that we're not just talking to the female commander, but we're talking to a trailblazer, a trendsetter in our own rights. I think it's just proper that we do that. And don't think I'm saying that out of duress because she's a female commander. I mean, it's all good up in here. So anyway, welcome back. And we are glad that you're still with us on this particular interesting and exciting episode. And Jemimah, obviously, when we went on a break, we were discussing quite an array of issues, looking at leadership, some of your aspirations, what you intend to do and everything. But I want us to kick off this second part with an interesting and important question. First and foremost, is UNZA for UPND or for everybody else?
UNZA is for everybody else.
Okay, thank you. I'll behave like a judge in court. Thank you. Let's now look at some of the brilliant initiatives that, the government has introduced. And one of them is the Constituency Development Fund, a policy that is inclusive, that is designed to be inclusive and benefit everybody, including the Zambians at the very grassroots level. What are your thoughts on CDF? Are the students benefiting when it comes to the Constituency Development Fund?
Well, honestly, they are not benefiting. And I feel like that could be a thing that we can actually include for them, because we have students who have businesses on campus and they could be put under the bracket of SMEs, right? And I've seen how so many SMEs, even outside the university, are actually benefiting from these same CDF funds, right? So now us as students, and I think the University of Zambia, the highest learning institution, right? We can also advocate for students to be able to benefit from that, because I've heard a complaint about how students have a challenge with carrying out their businesses even on campus, because there are certain laws, there are certain restrictions. But then if CDF could be brought in to be able to help them also ease their certain burdens that they could be experiencing, it would also benefit them so that they can focus on school as well as have income on the side. And I feel like those side hustles could grow into big things even after university. So yeah, they could benefit from it.
Interesting. Earlier on, you mentioned that among the different advocacy capes that you wear, mental health is one of them. And trust me, the issue of accommodation, the issue of meal allowances, the issue of sanitation, the issue of all kinds of challenges that, many universities grapple with, obviously continue. But among them, one of the biggest challenges has to do with the issues of mental health. And because of this challenge, a lot of students are pushed to vices, or they succumb to vices such as drug abuse, alcohol, weed, and all these kinds of things that people get entangled into. As an advocate, and, our proud sponsors for the People's Space Podcast, the Center for Trade Policy and Development, does a whole lot of advocacy work surrounding tobacco and everything. As the vice president, what are some of the strategies, partnership that you're looking to exploit, initiatives that you're looking to implement to be able to ensure that this aspect of mental health challenges are addressed at the university?
Actually, that's a big issue. Firstly, a lot of students actually at the University of Zambia don't know how important their mental health is. That's the first thing I'll say, because I have noticed that so many of them would complain about, sanitation, the usual, accommodation, all of this. But then there was a story. There was one time I was coming from my campaigns one night, because, day and night, we used to work day and night during the campaigns, right? So then I was walking back to my hostel, and then I met with a certain guy, and he was heavily drunk. So we were walking together side by side. Usually I don't like to interact, but then that day I was like, I think God is on who told me, talk to him. So then we started walking together, and I was asking him, where are you from? He's like, no, I was just from drinking, but I'm going to drink again. He was heavily drunk. And then I asked him why he was doing it, and he's saying, no, I just don't want to be living in reality, because there are so many issues that I have. So when I get drunk, it's like I'm living on cloud nine. I can't think about these issues and it's easy for me to sleep and all of those things. Those are cases that mental health. And some of these people are introduced to these things that actually destroy their health, but then for them it makes them feel good in the moment, right? And so they don't know who to turn to. So then the students rather, have found a safe space in this same drug abuse, but then they don't know there's a better way that they can actually deal with this. This is where now we come in as Unzaso, as you asked me, or my position as vice president, and aside from that, an advocate for mental health. So we have a counseling center at the University of Zambia, but I feel it's not publicized as it should because so many people don't even utilize the facility. We have people who can literally carry out a therapy session there, but they don't know they have such a thing. And it's free for all students, but they are not aware of such things. That's because it's not put out there. Imagine during an orientation where there's a desk, mental health, or we have programs that are dealing with mental health where students are brought on board. They're able to ask questions, they're able to find out, and just making it attractive. You know how we are youths. I mean, students are youths. So they'll be attracted to something that looks attractive. So making mental health attractive to them is also a key thing. Using technology, using colors, using all of these different things that we can use to be able to get their attention. But that's one of my things as vice president. I mean to help each and every student there be able to live a good life.
Making mental health attractive. Interesting indeed. And obviously the call for different aesthetics cannot be underemphasized. But moving on, I know that you represent women, and half the time we come from a cultural background where sometimes women are put in this position where they have to be the strong ones. A man has the luxury to go and drink alcohol and escape reality. But there are several stresses that a woman endures that sometimes she never asked for. She doesn't have a choice. Okay? There are those stresses that are induced on you, okay, by virtue of you being a woman that you didn't apply for, okay? And you have no choice. You can't drink alcohol to escape that because it is still coming.
Mm-hmm.
How do you also ensure that your fellow women are helped in that sense?
Stress management. Well, honestly, I feel like also as women, we at least given our, how can I put this? The way we deal with stress, right? We are not really put on a certain bar. Okay, let me put it simple. How they say about me, like men don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
Mamuna Samalila,
Yeah,
right?
I would say men don't cry.
But then for ladies, for us as ladies, we're allowed to cry, right? And crying is actually healing to the soul. One of the things that I've noticed is even the counseling center that I was talking about at Unza, most of the times when I'm passing by, or the people I've actually met who actually utilize that place are women. You get it, right? So firstly, us as ladies, we're very curious in nature. I don't know if everyone is like that, but I'm curious. And I've noticed that most of the people I hang out with are also curious in nature. This is why we're able to go for certain things that other people, like the male folk, are not able to go to. So I feel in catering for my fellow females, it's just encouraging them to be able to open up. Like, no issue is too hard, no issue is too big, and these vices that were going to actually destroying us. And we should look to the brighter picture.
So if you have so many women going to the counseling center than the men, obviously, what would be the biggest challenge surrounding females at the university?
I think the biggest challenge for females at the university is sanitation. Yeah, sanitation is so bad. Of course, thank you to management for the things that they're trying to do to be able to, fix this. But then it's a very big institution. This is why I say that calling upon the government to be able to help us in different things, like say rehabilitating the ablutions. You get it, right? Because maybe there are some showers that don't work. There may be toilets that don't work and everything. Now, that's so big for management to be able to just carry out in 1 year, 1 month, 2 months or anything. But then if we bring on ministry, say Ministry of Water and Sanitation, they come on board to be able to help us. You get it, right? Because that's a government institution. It's not a private institution that can literally do things on their own, everything on their own. But then government is supposed to be involved in this. So this is where we involve the government to be able to help the students, the female students, because I've heard so many complaints about how they're always at the clinic because they're UTIs, they're these things. And us as ladies, we're prone to such things if there's bad sanitation. Yeah.
Interesting. And Let's now talk about collaborations. Obviously, there are collaboration opportunities that you can explore to be able to achieve and provide mitigative measures to some of the challenges that you've highlighted. Are there any institutions that you'll be looking to collaborating with to be able to address some of those challenges that you've mentioned and perhaps even just meet your campaign promises?
Yeah, that's one of the things, because I believe in leadership. You can't work alone. You need to collaborate. So recently, we actually even went to the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts. Yeah, where we were talking about things like making sure that students who are in sports, right, are also catered for. Because you find that, I don't know if you've ever watched or just seen how other, even just abroad, they take sports as a very big thing. The NBA, like where you're playing basketball and
It actually
afterwards.
brings money to the university.
Yeah, it brings money. So imagine if we are able to appreciate such talent and skill, we're able to actually push the students to be better in that skill while still pursuing their education, and even the university is getting better in that section. So one of the collaborations we recently made as the new executive is with the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts. Then other ministries, of course, we're looking to collaborate with the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, as I said, for the sake of our sanitation and everything. Yeah. Ministry of Green Economy as well. You were talking about the trees. Yeah, so we are bringing them on board so that we see how best we can still continue pushing climate change even at UNZA, and just making sure everyone is safe. But so many other companies, one of the things that we're talking about recently, of course, it's yet to come out, bringing an insurance company on board. You see how I'm doing actuarial science, and actuarial science also involves insurance. So this was one of the ideas I had, where students are able to even pay a minimum of 150 per year. We are about 30,000 students approximately. Now imagine maybe a student has a funeral. Either the student passes away, that God forbid no student should pass away, right? But then in such a case, that insurance company can come on board to help out with certain finances, because some people don't come from a well-to-do family. So that insurance is able to cater for them. On that side, the insurance company will get some money, as well as the students benefit in one way or another, whether it's a relative who passes on or anything like that. So those are some of the ideas. I mean, if I exhaust everything here, we'll spend, the whole day.
Still on collaborations, obviously there are so many institutions that would love to work with Unzasu. And have you been approached by, say, political parties to say, hey, we've noticed you're smart, you're bright, would like you to help us mobilize here and there? Has that happened to you? Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, I'll put it as not yet. Maybe they're still coming, but
And when it
maybe
happens?
they're still looking for my number, probably. But
And when it happens?
I'm here to represent the students. So
Okay.
if anything goes against representing students, it's not for me. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Okay. Let's talk about the other demands. Obviously, you've mentioned a lot of interesting things. People that will be watching this episode will see that, well, I think there are opportunities that we can collaborate with Unzasu, say on mental health, climate change, and, all these other important aspects of our society. And being a female vice president who's going to be active will not be easy. There's a whole lot of work demands. There's a whole lot of, pressures that it will come with. How do you intend to strike a balance with your academics, delivering on your leadership mandate, and being able to remain and just strike that balance?
Well, this is where building systems that work comes in. Before all of this, I was actually researching on how best I can build a system for my life. Because I feel like when we get into these positions, you just can't live your life carelessly. Like, no, I just wake up at 9 today. Tomorrow I'm waking up at 11. The next day I'm waking up at 6. It's not a roller coaster where high, low, high, low. But then I have to have a system that's put in place for me to be able to manage my time. Say if I'm always supposed to wake up at 5, that's a demand on me. I have to wake up at 5. Whether I like it or not, I have to set a system where I wake up at 5, do my school. Of course, not everything will get 100% of my energy. Right now, I know if my parents are watching this, don't worry, I'm going to pass. But school is not getting my 100%. But one thing I've always done, I've never just done school. Yeah, from first year, I've never just done school. So I know how to juggle around different responsibilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I like the fact that, you are a person that is prone to multitasking and sometimes life can be very stressful and you literally fail to have time for yourself, and talking about time for yourself, you also may struggle to have time for that special somebody. Hey, you're smiling so much. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have time for that special somebody?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, she's taken. Sorry. Okay, I mean, I just had to do it for you. But anyway, one of the other interesting and important issues that I've noticed is students have the potential to turn or play a very important role when it comes to shaping policy in this country. They're a very, very important segment of our society because they do not only represent, where we are, students represent where we are and where we're going. Their involvement in policy making, decision making at the highest level does not only speak to where we are, but speaks to the future that we're creating at the end of the day. But what I've noticed sometimes is that students have also become instruments to a political end in the hands of the politicians, whether visible, sometimes invisible. Next year, Zambia will be going to the polls. Again, a crucial time in our calendar year. How is your leadership that has come at a time as this preparing for a time like next year? Are you likely to be among those that will take a side? Or I know you've answered that question before, but how do you intend to approach that so that you can play that important role?
As I said, playing a neutral ground because I'm carrying my students with me, right? So they must be able to have a decision for themselves. I will not impose a decision on any student, say you must do this or you must do that. They must decide for themselves.
They bring money? They bring a lot of zeros?
They must decide for themselves.
Okay. No, if they bring zeros to you.
To me, I'm here to represent the students. That's just my goal. So if I side with someone, doesn't mean the whole university has to side with them. You get it, right? It's me. At the end of the day, I'm the vice president, right? I'm also a student and I'm also a person. You get it, right? So in my personal capacity, I'll be able to, decide. I mean, my vote as well could be private, could be public.
But it counts.
But it counts, you get it, right? So it's about me also. But then for the students, it's about their voices. I think you said something about how us as students are able to shape policies in Zambia, right? Or just the country at large. One thing that I was saying, even during my campaigns, is your voice, my command, and our change. I'm big on representing students. This is why I think you heard me say I carried out a student survey, right? Because I don't like to just go amiss in what I'm doing. I like to be specific. What are the students facing? What's their voice? So even in policies, I'm big on having students' voices heard as well. You get it, right? Not because I'm their leader, I should impose a decision on them. Their voices should be heard. So I think that's what I'll say.
Talking about specificity, as you mentioned here, as we get to wrap up our conversation, what are some of the specific things that student should expect and hold you to account for in the next 6 months, which I believe would be half of your tenure?
Yeah. I think the first thing is sanitation. That's a very big and immediate problem that we have at UNZA. So in the next 6 months, they should expect some change. Of course, I'm not promising you that 100% of your problems will be dealt with, right? But then in terms of sanitation, at least expect even 50% of the work to be done 6 months from now. Within 6 months of my term, if I can put it like that. Yeah, that's the first thing. And then secondly, in terms of accommodation, right? As I told you, the hostels are being built. One of the ideas I have is a long-term plan. Accommodation at UNZA cannot be dealt with in 1 year, 2 months, or 4 months, right? It should be a long-term plan. So my vision is, as UNZASU, we can come up with a 10-year vision. I don't know if you know how these SDGs maybe have vision 2030, vision what? Why can't us as UNZASU, in fact, that's what we're going to do. We have, say, vision 2035. Right? Maybe our slogan will be all students accommodated. then every Unzasu that comes after us carries the same vision, and we continue making the same partnerships with that vision. Look at how ISPAC, that land is owned by UNZA, right? But then during this time, UNZA is the one that like for some time, a company gets the rent from ISPAC, right? After some years, it's given back to UNZA. Same thing with hostels. We can bring people like companies like NAPSA, KCM builds hostels. For 10 years, they're getting the rent. After 10 years, it's given back to the university. We still win. Students are accommodated, and we still have the money at the end of the day. So I think due to time, that's what I'll say.
Okay, finally, I'll give you an opportunity. What is your final word to government, who are the key stakeholders that you work with, and perhaps others, with regards ensuring that some of the things that you intend to achieve as a leadership are achieved? What is your final message to them?
Final message to the government is we are calling upon you to be able to collaborate with us. We are students and we are here to be heard and seen. And I'm here to represent them well. So it's just big on collaboration. Then to everyone out there, I'm here to be a leader and I'm big on transparency and accountability. So I'll be accountable to the people who voted me in, who are the students. Last word to everyone else, dream big. If your dreams don't scare you, you're not dreaming at all. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jemimah, for coming through.
Thank you too.
Okay. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be watching the People's Space podcast with me, Winston Mavor. And today I was privileged to be hosting the second female vice president in the history of the University of Zambia's existence. And that is no other than Jemimah Mwaba, who is currently at the helm of leadership in the second office when it comes to union representation. And obviously, she has shared quite some important and interesting things, emanating from our conversation. And for me, really, the striking thing is the issue of building competence, capacity, and ability when it comes to leadership, and the importance of believing in oneself, and also the crucial role that women play and men play in leadership, stemming from the fact that leadership does not look at sex. Leadership is leadership. Those are some of the important nuggets that Jemimah was able to share, and most importantly, advising government on some of the important strategies that could be implemented to be able to ensure that brilliant policies such as the Constituency Development Fund can be extended to the University of Zambia for the benefit of the student populace, to be able to not only create economic self-sufficiency, but also just ensuring the growth of the institution as well. You can remain and be that person that gets an opportunity to win some lucky prizes on the People's Space podcast. Before I let you go, I have to mention this. All you simply have to do is make sure that on these episodes that we air on either YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all you simply have to do is remain active and participating. And once your comment or contribution garners more traction on those platforms, you do stand a chance to win yourself some amazing and fantastic prizes, ranging from t-shirts, such as the one that I'm wearing, exceptional quality. And of course, we've got mug cups, we've got various accessories, memorabilia that you can use to be able to just, benefit from in multi-purpose ways. So let's be interactive on Facebook under the handle the Center for Trade Policy and Development, and YouTube, and CTPD Zambia on Twitter, TikTok, and other platforms. Remember, let's keep the conversation going and let's keep talking development, because your voice counts, as the female commander said. See you next time.